what people don't like in construction and any industry really is delay and risk. We were using sort of Excel spreadsheets, which was quite challenging really because there wasn't a sort of central database where you could have all your projects. And I think what TeamGantt can help to do is produce programs which accurately depict what needs to be prepared for your planning application and when it needs to be done. It's been a bit of a game changer with the streamlining of it all really.
So Ollie, thanks a lot for joining us today. We're glad you can come and talk with us.
No worries at all. Nice to meet you, Nathan. Pleasure being here.
Yeah, awesome. Ollie, can you give us a little background on what you do and what Maddox Planning does?
So we are a town planning consultancy. So what that basically means is that we assist developers, so that be for house building or commercial buildings, things like that, local authorities, private clients to basically try and achieve planning permission in the UK for projects. For the Americans among us, that sort of is, I guess, similar to zoning and sort of those building permits. So we're sort of the British equivalent to the starting of building projects really in construction.
Yeah, awesome. All right, very good. And give us a little indicator in terms of Maddox Planning, like the size of the company, how many employees are there?
So we are, I guess, a small to medium sized consultancy. We've got about 15 or so planning professionals, some people who prepare applications, etc. But then we also have all of the sort of support staff, etc. So I think we have upwards of 30 to 40 people involved across the board, really.
Awesome. And what sets Maddox Planning apart from other companies that do similar work to you?
I think because we do a lot of our operations on sort of more of an analytic approach, really. We sort of try and use automated processes and things like TeamGantt will come on to in terms of our project management tool, but to effectively try and set ourselves a little bit apart in terms of having a streamlined approach. Our bread and butter, is planning consultancy really. So we focus on that. We focus on using technology where we can to optimize and streamline processes. And we tend to work on some of the biggest and bigger high profile projects in London and the UK generally, from construction in terms of number of homes provided, the size of buildings we're delivering, and sort of the exposure that we've got to these quite complex but exciting schemes.
Why is it important for you guys to have TeamGantt as a part of that process?
I think because what people don't like in construction and any industry really is delay and risk. Yep. And I think what TeamGantt can help to do is produce programs which accurately depict what needs to be prepared for your planning application and when it needs to be done. And I think having quite an open and transparent approach with clients, we share this material with the clients, the TeamGantt programs, and they will see and understand what needs to be done and how it's going to be done. So it helps to basically manage timeframes, risk profile, and the like. It's really useful.
Yeah, awesome. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced before using TeamGantt?
So we were using sort of Excel spreadsheets, which was quite challenging really because there wasn't a sort of central database where you could have all your projects in. You'd have to produce a single standalone Excel spreadsheet, which, as you know, error prone. You've got the formula errors that come with it, and manual data entry, which can also be very slow. So from our perspective, it was quite poor collaborating in terms of being able to share these Excel spreadsheets with colleagues or clients or project team, because not everyone is on the same page of how to use Excel. So you'd send it over and there would be lots of delays and uncertainty, and there were integration challenges as well with that. So I think for TeamGantt, and I'm sure we'll come on to it, but in terms of the sharing knowledge platform and ability of it, and to make it very transparent, to provide your program to your whole team, with a client and consultant base, and then everyone is working off the same link, and it's quite easily to upload processes and just be quite streamlined there. So it's been a bit of a game changer with the streamlining of it all really.
Yeah, we get a lot of people coming from Excel or Google Sheets or something like that, switching over to TeamGantt for those reasons. So it makes sense. How did those challenges of a spreadsheet actually impact your project timelines and your outcomes?
I think they would slow things down, because people would spend so much time trying to actually make edits and spend time producing a new standalone Excel spreadsheet. It generally just meant you spent more time doing admin and less time actually doing project work. So it can tend to be quite slow. So I think TeamGantt generally mean you spend less on the admin. The admin is clearer, and it really does explain to everyone involved transparently what needs to be done moving forward. So I think that's the key. And it's also, from a risk perspective, it really helps clients see what are the risks, what needs to be done, and it's just quite transparent.
Well, would you mind maybe sharing your screen, sharing a project, what it looks like in your world as you use it day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. Here is an example of a project we've been working on in Fulham, a planning application that we're going to be submitting to the council, and here's generally how it looks from a Gantt view. So we've got the name of the project at the top of the page, and then we split each project into a few different subcategories really. So we've got events here, sort of drop down, and we've got some key events with milestones, these sort of this star here, and we then have got, as part of that, a pre-application advice request. I won't go too much into detail, but that forms part of this planning application process. We had documents. So as part of this, for every planning application you have to submit to the council, the council will require a certain number of documents. So we have got, for example, here are all of the documents that should be submitted in support, and you're able to assign which consultant or individual would deal with that report. So in this case, for example, the design and access statement would be prepared by the architect, which would basically set out how great your proposal was and how good it looks and all those sort of things.
Do you find that drives accountability when everyone can see the schedule and know what's expected of them and
Absolutely.
By when?
Really, the best tool is the fact that you can share and you can invite people to the program, you can invite your consultants, you can invite your client. They know at all times they're able to access this link, which is a live link and will constantly be updated. The fact also from a streamline perspective is that when we share, the same copy link will be in place every single time with this project. So a lot of the time we don't even need to provide an update to the client too much. We can just say, by the way, the program's been updated. We don't even actually need to recirculate the link, because they'll have that saved and they can just look up and then go, oh, okay, I see, that report's been received. It's just very that sort of collaborative working. It has been really, really useful for us.
So is there a certain percentage that you would say you're more efficient or faster with your projects now that you've started using TeamGantt?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think personally, this means that I'm spending 10, 15, 20% less time on admin tasks, and ultimately that transfers to project timelines and how fast things are being done, because if I'm saving time, everyone else is really. So I'd say I think 10 to 20% faster of how projects work. Absolutely.
All right, Ollie, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your insights and your story. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. Thanks.